Welcome to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. In my personal life, I am a wife to a dedicated law enforcement officer and mama to 3 lively littles. I'm an adamantine yoga teacher, health coach, community betterment advocate, and wellness enthusiast. But what I really like doing is connecting others with tools and resources that bring about health, harmony, and happiness. Whatever this looks like to you, I'm here to offer my own insights and tools from others that allow you to realize your full potential to live mindfully as your authentic best self. Allow me to be a guide in discovering what works for you. Hey everybody, we're in the midst of a series that is focused on nutrition, and today's episode is the second part of an interview in which I sat down with one of my best friends, Jess Ramaeker, who is a nutritional therapy practitioner. She focuses on functional nutrition and how to heal the body with food. We talked more about that in last week's episode, but today we are talking about how to get kids to find healthy food fun and how to incorporate healthy food into picky eaters' diets. So if you yourself are a picky eater, this episode might be for you as well, because you might be able to pick up some insights on how to incorporate healthy foods into your diet if you find that that's a challenge for you. We also talk about meal planning and meal prep, and she gives some wonderful insights on how to go about doing that. And I also want to remind you about the free healthy snack guide that you can find on my website right now. You just head on over to cairnyogawellness.com and you'll be able to download that. And if you missed the bone broth episode, head back to cairnyogawellness.com/podcast11 and you'll be able to receive a link to get $10 off your first order of bone broth from Braised Bone Broth Company. But before we get to that interview, it would mean so much to me if you would take just a moment and leave a rating or review for this podcast so that we can reach more people and continue to grow this health, harmony, and happiness movement. So let's talk about kids first and helping them to make healthy choices. Thanks again for being here today and for giving me your time so that the world can be enlightened by your wisdom and knowledge. Jess is a nutritional therapy practitioner and just a fantastic mom who cares about her kids and what they're putting in their bodies and is able to connect their behaviors, their body ailments with their food. And she has a ton of expertise and knowledge in just living with her kids and learning that way as well.
Sometimes it's trial by fire, but yes,
right.
We have got some things figured out.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so getting kids to eat healthy is not always an easy thing at all, unless you start them very young with it. And you probably fed your big kids different than you fed your youngest kid when they were in their toddler years.
Absolutely.
If studies and research say that our eating habits and behaviors are formed by the age of 3, then that's a short amount of time to get those habits in place when a kid is at a young age. So it can be hard to change their habits, just like it is for us. But it can be easier when you start in those elementary, middle school, high school ages.
Definitely. Yes. So my oldest 2 kids are 17 and 14, and we absolutely ate probably night and day different when they were younger versus the way that I started feeding Finn, who's 5. We definitely ate more of a standard American diet, definitely a lot more processed foods, just quick convenience things. I did cook a lot. I was raised in a home, my mom cooked a lot when we were younger and taught us all to cook. So I would say that, it wasn't necessarily, we ate more fast food than my 5-year-old will tell you how many times he's been to McDonald's in his entire life. It's almost 5. He's almost been as many times as he is years old. So, but definitely, when we really convenience foods were definitely more part of our life than, definitely more breads and just easy things.
What triggered you to make the change?
Oh gosh. So my oldest, he's a senior this year, and probably when he was in about 2nd or 3rd grade, kind of started exhibiting some ADHD type symptoms. And we actually never got a formal diagnosis until the last year, just recently. So, and just in some research that I was doing, just trying to help him, what could I do as a parent to help his health and his, attention span, and just, what could I do to help him without putting him on medicine, which is what I was really trying to avoid. I discovered going gluten-free and a paleo style diet, which, is eating like cavemen, lots of protein and vegetables and kind of a meat and potatoes thing. But giving up grains and giving up gluten, which is a protein that is found in grains. That going gluten-free really helped kids with ADHD. And on a secondary level or ingredient, I guess, was artificial colors. So and that's where this ball started rolling almost probably 10 years-ish ago. And it just has not stopped since then. So
basically you started to think about how, if my kid's acting this way, could it be something that he is eating that's causing this, or that's causing these symptoms to become worse?
Yeah. And I think that my initial thought process was, what can I, probably my first Google search was, natural ways to combat ADHD or something. It was how can we stay off medication is where my first initial thought process went. And, then it snowballed into this, like, just reading and reading and reading. I was like, maybe it is food. Maybe it is something he's consuming. Maybe it is, an environmental thing. So what can I do to change that?
You and I are so much alike in that respect that if we want to know about something, you're going to research the heck out of it, and you're going to make sure that you're making the best decision. So Jess is one of those people in my life that if I have a question about something and I don't have the time to research it, or I know she's already done this, she's my go-to person because she just knows stuff. And I enjoy doing that as well. Like, there's just some things that we dive into and go down that path and go down that route to make sure. So
sometimes it's a big rabbit hole.
It is, but it changed.
I like to know that stuff.
Search changed your whole family's direction, basically.
It changed a lot of things for us. So, so that's kind of our journey, and then that kind of snowballed into when Daniel was a teenager. He started getting migraines, and, we couldn't quite figure out migraine issues and what was triggering it. And then he came home one day and said, I think it's Subway. And again, we haven't, as a family, probably haven't eaten Subway in easily 10 years. But as a teenager and making his own decisions, he would eat Subway. And I hate to call out Subway, but he would eat there, and then within like 48 hours, he would have a debilitating migraine. And so it was something in the foods he was eating that finally, after a long process, this was not something quick and easy.
Right.
But
you're not going to call that out after just
a
couple
absolutely
headaches.
not. No. But once he was a little bit older at that point, but then he started seeing the connection. Well, I ate Subway. Now I have this headache. I have this migraine when I can't leave my room and I can't go to school. Maybe I shouldn't eat that anymore. So
Yeah.
It's
That's
been a
very cool.
process.
That's very cool. Okay, so your middle child, who,
Hmm.
and I remember having these conversations, and when she's in middle school, that
Yes.
like, how did you get her to get on board, and what were some of the things that helped her learn the connection with food and how food impacts how we feel, how our bodies respond to life?
Um, I would say she probably, I'm going to be very honest, she probably did not really see the connection until this year. She knows that she feels better when she doesn't eat, processed stuff or junky foods or um, just heavy foods. I feel like when I eat processed foods, I feel like I just feel gross. I feel heavy and yucky. Um, but she has noticed, and I think just in the last year, and definitely this first year of high school for her, um, she's swimming competitively for high school, and she has noticed that if she eats crappy the day before or the day of, her joints hurt, and she just feels slower and kind of feels sluggish. And so, I mean, she's my good eater. She'll eat whatever I put in front of her. There are very few foods that she won't eat. So, um,
So
she's
the
kind of been my easy one, but the connection for her finally clicked this year while competing in sports.
But I think the key that you've been doing with your kids then to get them into that mindset is that you're just bringing the awareness to them. Kids
I
aren't
talk about it
necessarily, like you just
constantly.
said, kids aren't necessarily going to connect that, or it's not going to click for them right away. But
Hmm.
if you can consistently point out, oh, maybe that's because you had this, this, and this yesterday or earlier this morning, that, and some of those things, like you said, they have to discover on their own. But the awareness and building the awareness comes from one, modeling it, and two,
It's a
being
conversation.
able to have that conversation. Yeah. And point out, we're having this, it's a treat. We may not feel that great after we eat it, though.
Absolutely. And some of it is just me sharing my experiences with my kids. Um, I love the Whole30 elimination diet. We aren't going to talk about that right now, but I had great success with it and found a lot of things that bother me. So um, I like to point out to my kids that when I eat dairy, I get breakouts on my face. I get terrible breakouts on my chin if I eat any sort of commercially processed dairy. So I really try to avoid it. But, you know, I like pizza just as much as the next person. And um, I don't not eat it. We do eat it once in a while. But, again, it's a conversation. I know what works for my body. So when I eat something that maybe doesn't agree, that's a conversation that I have with my kids constantly. And not that I'm badgering them about it, but it's just something, that's just a conversation. We talk about food in our house constantly. So I think once it's a journey to figure it out for yourself first, but then helping your kids through that journey also. And sometimes you're doing it right beside each other along the way and you're figuring things out as you go, and that's okay too.
Right. Do you ever think that could have, and I'm just like playing the devil's advocate right now because I don't necessarily think this way. But do you ever think that could have negative implications because food is such a conversation that it could create some false
I do.
beliefs
Yes. Um, I yes.
and a
Big
and a and a
the
bad
very broad.
relationship with food or I don't know.
Yeah, and I do struggle with that because I want my kids to not feel bad about eating a bowl of ice cream
Right.
or, you know, enjoying a candy bar because there's no sense in feeling guilty. You shouldn't feel guilt or shame about eating a food. Um, but on the flip side of that, I hope that they understand also that that is part of life. That is, and I don't know, I guess I just cross my fingers and hope that I have not damaged my children.
Right. Right.
But yes, that is a concern. I think that's a valid concern.
Because I think it could send them into the extreme one way or the other. I
Absolutely.
worry about that with my 5-year-old is because my husband and I are both very health conscious people. But we do indulge sometimes, and our kids know that, and teaching them moderation and teaching them what to have a good relationship with food is a really hard thing. Like, it is really hard. The other night, I had an open house at the studio, and we had delicious, beautiful sugar cookies because it was a celebration of our 5 years.
Right.
And my son was here, and he was pouting because we wouldn't let him have another cookie. And I was back in my office nursing, and he came back and said, I just really want another cookie. And I said, you've had one cookie, you're going to have dinner soon. You don't need another cookie. And so he's literally sitting across from me with his knees up on the chair, hugging them and pouting. And I said, would you please go out to the front and get my phone? I was nursing. I couldn't do it. And I said, would you please go out there and get my phone? And he goes, I will go out there and get it if I can have another cookie. I
yes.
was like,
I know that
you
conversation.
little mastermind. Then I don't need my phone that bad. You're not getting another cookie.
I think that's a 5-year-old thing.
He doesn't always have that off switch though. Like he does it sometimes, but he wants the next cookie. He wants another cookie. He wants, you know.
And I think that that's fairly normal, especially with kids like that.
I think it's normal for us as adults.
Absolutely.
It's hard to have that self-restraint and that self-control.
Especially if it's available.
Yeah.
So
that's part of it then is
yes.
What do you make available in your home?
Yes. What you have in your home, kids will, I don't know, what you have in your home, kids will eat. Kids will eat, and I hate to, this is a terrible way to look at it, but kids will eat when they're hungry. So if you have carrots, or you have celery, or you have fresh fruit and vegetables, and they decide they're hungry, they're going to grab it regardless.
And you have it prepped and ready, and at their level or their reach,
yep,
they'll eat it.
They will. We
keep carrots in our fridge in an open container in water, all peeled and cut up, so that they can do just that. And I don't know how many times my kids will walk to the refrigerator, open the door, grab a carrot out, and be gone and on with their day and whatever they're doing.
Yep.
And I don't care that. I want to have those foods accessible to them so that they can eat those things.
Same here.
What's your biggest challenge with your kids in their eating?
That's a good one. I don't know that it's so much a challenge with my kids, but probably a challenge for myself. It's giving up the control of what they're eating outside of my house. And part of that is like, I know that I can feed them nutrient dense, good, wholesome meals at home. And that's what they get at home, you know, barring the occasional ordering a pizza or, you know, whatever, if we go out to eat. But it's, you know, what are they eating outside of my four walls? So
it's super hard.
It is.
That starts as an infant. I mean, my gosh, I struggle with that right now with nursing because I think, well, I can just run home or I can just run to daycare and feed Lulu. Somebody else could easily just feed her a bottle and I can pump. But man, I want to be able to do that with my child, you know?
Right.
So it's starting as young as at an infant. Then once they get older, it only gets harder, I think.
It does. It does.
Some of it you have to trust that what you've taught them will sink in and has sunk in and just let them live, you know? I mean, it's life. Think
yes,
what we ate when we were kids.
I know.
I had Little Debbie snack cakes every day after school, I'm pretty sure. I
know.
That was like the go-to. Okay, home, got off the bus, have a snack and watch some Full House.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's fine. There is that balance factor. And I don't, believe me, I do not dictate every single piece of food that goes into my children's mouths. I work for my parents, which probably some of you that are listening know that. And we have a snack fairy that comes to the shop. The snack fairy brings things that mom would definitely not approve of for snacks, like Little Debbie snacks. Sometimes those appear in the snack drawer. But mom also puts some healthier options in there too. So I think choice giving your kids a choice is a good way to get them to choose what they want for the day. And you know what? One crappy snack a day is really not going to be the end of the world. So,
Right. I feel like I turned out just fine, and
I think I'm doing okay.
80% of the time, I'd say
Exactly.
in my life. I don't know.
That's a
Keep
balance.
that 80-20 balance, maybe.
Yes.
How do you recommend getting healthy foods if you've got that picky eater or got that kid who just doesn't want to eat their vegetables? How do you recommend getting those healthy options into their diet?
Two ways. One, you can hide them. It's really easy to steam a vegetable and blend the crap out of it. So let's say carrots, because they're easy. You can steam a carrot. You can mash them. You can blend the crap out of them and put them in a soup. Your kids are never going to know. You can do the same thing with pretty much any vegetable. Maybe hiding them isn't always the best idea, but it is a way to start adding. If they're just kind of defiant about eating them, it's a way to start getting them into their diet.
Absolutely.
And then you can say, oh, well, you've been eating carrots. Like, I've just been mashing them up, or however you want to approach it. So,
and you don't usually have that problem with your kid, nor do I with our 5-year-olds. Our 5-year-olds are probably the, I don't know.
The weird,
They're
healthy
just weird,
kids.
healthy kids. I don't know. They would prefer broccoli and spinach over, I don't know. If those are their favorite foods, I had to have done something right. You had to have done something right as well. Huck will have a handful of spinach as a salad, and when he goes back for seconds after whatever we had, he wants seconds of the salad. I'm going to have 2 salads tonight, Mom. And I'm like, well, why don't we just make your salad bigger? Nope, I'm going to have 2 salads. Just going to have some at the beginning and another one.
Finn calls them green leaves.
Can
I just have some more of those green leaves? Yeah, sure. Or broccoli. That was his, my kids always get to pick what they want for their birthday dinners. And however that looks for them. I don't, there's no delegation or dictation on birthdays. Right. And last year, Finn asked for grilled cheese, broccoli, and I don't remember what else. Dirt cake. I mean, something totally obscure for him, but broccoli. What kid asked for broccoli
for their birthday? I'll have some broccoli, please.
Broccoli sounds wonderful.
So our kids have this already kind of balanced diet thing down. They realize that you got to have some of everything, some of, of those fruits and vegetables on your plate as well.
Yes, yes.
But not every kid is like that. And one of the things that our kids' school does is that they offer healthy fruits and vegetables. We have a grant, and so every afternoon they get a snack of a healthy fruit or vegetable that they get to try. And they try lots of random things.
They do. Finn came home the other day and asked me if I had ever heard of jicama. And yes, I've heard of jicama. We have had jicama at home before. It's a great root vegetable. I think it's considered a vegetable.
I think it is too.
And he said, well, it's kind of sweet, but I do not like that. I said, okay, that's totally okay. And I that's a point too, that if your kids just are adamant that they don't like something, don't force them to eat it. I think that creates continue to try and serve it to them. But I think when you force it on them, then that makes them feel like, oh gosh, I do not ever want to eat that.
And sometimes it's just a matter of how you cook it or how you prepare it that changes things. Scout, my 3-year-old, likes broccoli. She prefers it cooked, though, whether it's steamed or roasted. She prefers that, but she'll eat the leaves, if you will, off of the broccoli. Mm-hmm. She'll eat the broccoli tops more so than the stems, which is normal. I remember doing that as a kid as well. Spinach, she will eat if she has raspberry vinaigrette dressing on it. Sometimes blue cheese, but that's rare. Like, usually it's raspberry vinaigrette, but I had to find something sweet to put on it so that she would eat it. And I just have gradually added more spinach when we have spinach salads to her plate, because she's the one who, she has the sweet tooth, and she doesn't want to eat fruits and vegetables. Well, she doesn't want to eat vegetables as much. She'll eat all the fruit in the world, but vegetables are a little bit more of a challenge.
And kids go through phases. Our taste buds change. Gosh, I'm gonna butcher this number because I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But our taste buds recycle, for lack of a better term. Like it's every 60 or 90 days. So, our palates are constantly changing. So just because your kid says, I don't like broccoli, doesn't mean that in 6 months they might like broccoli. Their palate may have changed. So
We
I
try
think
to use prefer at home.
yes, and
use that as
consistently offering those choices, whether they take them or not. We have a rule at our house that you have to take one bite of anything that's on your plate. And if you legitimately do not like it or prefer, then it's fine. I won't force my kids to eat anything, but
my husband made liver and onions a couple months ago, and I was like,
nope.
Oh boy, this is going to be rough. He's like, it's good. My grandma used to make it, and it was so good. And he
Sorry,
made
Matt,
it.
but it's not.
No, it is not. He still makes it. He'll still eat it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a big kid here. My kids are going to try this. I'm going to try it. I tried it and couldn't even get the bite. I had to spit it out, and I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot eat this. And both the kids tried it, and I was glad that they tried it, but they were like, who makes your kids eat this? I don't know. So I asked my sister-in-law if she liked it, because apparently they had it growing up. And she's like, well, when your parents put something in front of you, you just have to eat it. And I was like, oh boy, but liver, it was not good, folks. Don't make your kids do it. My husband has since made it since that time, and nobody eats it but him. And then he only eats it like one time, and then it basically gets thrown out. So don't go down that extreme. But
a liver is okay.
Like
side
you said,
note.
adding in small things, and yes, liver and Matt.
Oh
then
my
after
gosh,
my
liver
thyroid,
is so good for
after
you.
my thyroid thing the other day, he goes, you need to be eating liver. Like 2 days later, he's like, I knew you needed to be eating liver. No liver for me, please.
You people
liver is
listening
very
to this?
good for your thyroid. If you are hyperthyroid, or if you have hyperthyroidism, liver is good for it, folks, just to let you know.
It is, and you folks listening to this, Kathy and I are Skyping right now, and we can see each other's faces, and they're sort of, no, we're both like, no.
Negative. No on the liver.
But just total side note here, offal or organ meats is so good for you. They're so nutrient dense, but you can take liver pills.
Oh. Well,
Vital Proteins has a great one, just FYI.
Oh, yeah, you told me that like a long time ago. Good to know. Okay. That's good to know.
Yes.
Well, that could be on my list of things to purchase then. Oh boy. So, like you said though, and like you were saying, is putting the food and trying it cooked maybe a different way, or just continuing to offer that option is the important thing, because one time trying it and saying you don't like it or you don't prefer it, unless it's liver, folks, is not really a good excuse.
It's okay to say you don't like liver at any time.
It is, okay?
No, and that's my second tip, really, going back to tips to get your kids to eat, is try and cook in a different way. Like, you can steam vegetables, you can roast them, you could, air fryers are wonderful. I don't use ours as much as I should, but you can air fry them. You can put, I don't like cheese. I don't like dairy, but put cheese on your vegetables. If that's what gets your kids to eat them, then, we're not talking nacho cheese out of a can, but if you can put a little bit of if you should shred your own cheese.
I was just going to say that. Because
Please don't buy. Because shredded
cheese, folks,
has covered in cornstarch and
it has
not good
cellulose
stuff.
in it, which is like wood chips. So
it
keeps it from caking. But if you can shred your own cheese, better option by far than purchasing the convenience of pre-shredded cheese.
And it takes like 5 seconds.
Right.
And it's cheaper.
Right.
Too.
It is. It definitely is.
I don't have a problem with that. If you put a few sprinkles of cheese on top of some broccoli and that gets your kids to eat broccoli, awesome. Uh, Great. It's just getting them to start that habit of eating whatever it is. Or, like we like roasted broccoli. We can eat our body weight in roasted broccoli at my house because you roast it till it's almost burnt. And then it's crispy. It's almost like a potato chip. A little bit of salt and pepper on the top and we use avocado oil. It gets them nice and crispy, and they're more flavorful that way too. So
right. And
there are lots of options.
You talked about carrot fries. We did that last night, and they were delicious. That was the thing that my kids both wanted seconds on, and I didn't make enough. So we're going to be having that again tonight as well, because that was
quick, and they're easy.
Yeah. Let's move on to talking a little bit about meal prep and planning. So you've shopped the perimeter of your store, and you have all these foods, and you're going to make an effort to not eat as much convenience food or boxed food, canned food, frozen pizza, processed foods. How do you go about starting to plan what to make or prep that food when you come home from the grocery store? What does meal prep look like for you guys?
Well, it starts before I go to the grocery store. So, I haven't been as good about it lately, but we menu plan. I have a chalkboard wall in my kitchen, and I ask for my kids' input. And on whatever day of the week we happen to be menu planning, I ask my kids, what would you like to see in our menu? What sounds good? Or, we have this, and this in the freezer. I bought a half of beef from a family member. We have a ton of ground beef and just beef options. And so I'll say to my kids, okay, I have 5 pounds of ground beef in the fridge. What sounds good this week? Should we have tacos? Should we have, I don't know, I made shepherd's pie over the weekend. I get their input on because if I ask them, then they'll most likely eat it. So then I make my grocery list, and usually I have an idea then of what recipes I'm making with what I have come home with from the store. So you can do it one of two ways. Either go to the grocery store when you know that you're going to have time to come home and prep some of those vegetables. So that means coming home, unpacking all of your stuff, getting it out on the counter, having an idea of what, let's say, okay, for carrots, I know that I'm going to make shepherd's pie, or I'm going to make carrot fries at some point during the week. So I know that I need to dice up some carrots, and I know that I need to cut some carrots into sticks. So I'm going to take my carrots. I'm going to immediately peel them. I might not dice them or cut them into sticks right away, but at least if I get them peeled and cleaned up, they're ready and in the fridge for me to cook with.
One less step and so much easier.
Yes, it is. It creates one less step, and it doesn't take that much time. You might need to plan an hour after you get home from the store, depending on what you're cooking. But peeling a bag of carrots takes probably less than 10 minutes.
Right.
And that's something.
Yeah, go for it. You're going to say exactly what I was going to.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. Getting your kids involved in that stuff makes them more apt to eat it. So my big kids will definitely help their semi-experienced in the kitchen. I'm just starting to get Finn a little bit more involved in doing some of the prep work. Like, I will let him, as long as I am watching him, I will let him peel carrots. He'll stand at the sink and peel carrots or peel potatoes. If you don't want your kids to use sharp objects, you can use, even just a scrub brush to clean up those vegetables before you throw them back in the fridge.
Yeah, my Norwex cloth is a great option for that.
Yes, the Norwex vegetable scrubber thing.
The other thing is that they make these knives that we got for my nephew for Christmas this past year. And they are specifically for
those kids' knives.
Yes. They're fantastic.
They're not sharp, but they cut.
Right.
I don't get it.
Right.
It's like magic.
I know, it really is. I don't remember what they're called right now. But they're fantastic. But that's another way that when they get a little bit
Yes.
older than our
Yes.
kids are right now.
But encouraging your kids in the kitchen is a way to get them, one, get them to cook. I
Yeah.
think that it's starting that habit early on. And two, they're excited when they get to help make a finished product because they have put work into it. Just like as an adult, if we put effort into something, we're probably going to continue with it. And then we get really excited when it's done.
Right. You've got some buy-in to it.
Yes.
These knives they're the Star Pack nylon kitchen knife set. I can link to that too, but they're pretty handy. And the other thing, when they're with their buy-in, like a garden, you have a garden, we have a garden. When our kids, my husband has primarily been the garden caregiver for the past few years. But man, they go out there and help him. And then when he's not here or when I'm not even outside with them and they're playing outside, they'll go into the garden and pick beans and eat them right from the garden, or pick peas or pick peppers, and they'll bring them up to the house. Even if we don't necessarily need them, if they know that they may be picking something off of a plant that could be used, they'll go out there, they'll come in, get their little containers and go out and pick away, which is awesome. But that helps them also
They're
want
invested.
to eat those vegetables.
Yes, they're invested in it.
Yeah. So do you take a certain day of the week, though, and meal plan or prep? Or have you done that in the past?
I have in the past. I usually pick a weekend just because we are home and less busy on the weekends. Usually Sundays is kind of my prep day or cooking day or baking day, whatever is on our menu for the week. Usually I end up going to the grocery store on Friday nights, which just sounds really pitiful.
Super exciting.
So wild and crazy at
I've
the
done it
Ramaeker
many
house.
times too.
But then that gives me 2 days, kind of over the weekend. We kind of talk about our menu over the week. Well, what kind of sounds good for next week, and our menu is not static. It changes. We might decide that we don't feel like tacos on Tuesday. We feel like leftovers. So, but if those pieces of that meal are prepped and ready, they're easy to grab. They're easy to cook. I don't even, I might even prep and cook all the protein for the week. So, if I'm going to meal prep thoroughly, I am cooking everything, or I'm at least prepping everything. So, if I have a chicken recipe, I'm either cooking it or I'm marinating it. So it's ready in the fridge just to go directly in the oven or Instant Pot, however that looks.
My prepping for chicken generally involves just making sure I get it out of the freezer.
So, and that could be too. It
baby
just
steps.
making
Baby
sure
steps.
that it's thawed.
Yeah.
Which Instant Pot lovers, you don't even have to thaw it.
That's true. That's true.
But tacos is an easy meal. Everybody loves tacos. So if I have the lettuce cut up and tomatoes cut up and cheese shredded and, chips or shells, whatever you prefer. But I pre-cook my taco meat, however, whatever meat protein option we're having. If it's pre-cooked and in a container in the fridge, all I have to do is throw it in the skillet and warm it up. Then, my lettuce is in a container. It's ready just to be sat out and thrown on. Then that meal takes me 10 minutes to get out and feed my family versus 35 or 40, maybe even an hour to cook everything out. Yeah, to get everything out, cook it when we're busy in the evenings. And I be honest, I don't have time for that.
Right.
So
I made a menu this week because Matt was going to be out of town, and so my mom was here part of the week, and now his mom is here helping out. But I thought and I had stuff 2 or 3 nights this week. So I had to have a plan. So I sat down on Sunday and made a menu, and it was the best feeling ever because then I knew, oh, this is what we're having on this day, and this is what we're having on that day. And I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to get home and think, oh my gosh, what are we going to have for dinner? I don't even have anything out of the freezer. So I feel kind of like the first step in this whole menu planning and meal prep is just make a menu. Like just sit down and think about what you want to have for the week. And that
Hmm.
helps eliminate so much stress and so much confusion over what's going to happen. Because then if you know what you're having, you know you're going to have the stuff on hand. You go to the grocery store and you're set and you're ready to go.
Yes. Yep. Yep. It totally eliminates that oh crap feeling when you get
Yeah.
home, because we all know what that feels like. And it then you don't get supper on the table until 7 o'clock, and
Right.
then everybody's hangry and grouchy, and it just doesn't set a very good tone for home in the
Right.
evenings.
Right. So you mentioned you have a chalkboard wall at home that you use
Hmm.
to do your menu, but do you have any sort of templates or an app that you also would maybe recommend to someone?
I don't have a template, but I think I need to make one.
Yeah.
Um, I use an app called Paprika. There is, I think that there's a free version. I'm pretty sure. I know I paid for mine. I think it was like $5. I like this app because it has a browser built into the program. Um, it works on Apple products and on a PC. And if you pay for it once, I believe you get a key for all the options. Um, but you can use the browser inside the app to find recipes. So let's just say that you know that you love this recipe for chicken tacos from this blog. You can go to that blog or recipe online, and the app pulls all the pieces from the recipe and puts it into a recipe in the app, like a recipe card.
That's
So
amazing.
then, I mean, and you can go in and edit it. So if there's a recipe that I like and I know that I don't use this piece and I don't use this piece, but I swap it out for this thing. Like I know we're not going to use sour cream. So I might put in the note that I need to make something else or get some Greek yogurt
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, then you can go in and pick your recipes. Like I know that we're going to have these 5 recipes this week, and then it will make you a grocery list. It's
Oh,
great. It's
nice.
wonderful. Then you can go back into the app to see your menu for the week, and the recipes are right there at your fingertips.
Nice. That's really helpful.
It also, and I think that it's the grocery list portion is big, because then you can shop your own fridge too. So if you
Right.
have a list, just like when you go to the grocery store anytime, if you have a list, you don't walk out with 75 things that you don't
Right.
need.
Right.
So if you have that list, you can shop your own fridge, or you can shop your cabinets or whatever you have
Sure.
at home to make sure that, okay, I'm not buying double of this or triple
Yeah.
of this, or
Yeah.
I need this, but I don't need this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, a couple more questions and we're going to wrap this up. So,
okay.
how do you meal plan on a budget and still eat healthy?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I just make a budget and stick to it. And I know that sounds really silly, but um, I shop sales. I watch the flyers for both locally here, Fairway and Hy-Vee, for sales on whatever, produce or proteins. Um,
And you could
let's
even
say,
use that then and make your menu based on what's going to be on sale.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, and then another option, let's see, for this one takes a little bit of pre-planning, but like I said, we bought a half of a cow last November from my cousin. So if you can buy meat or have the means to buy protein meat in bulk, that is an excellent way to buy things on a budget. Um, that does take some pre-planning. The upfront cost seems like a lot, but
But if you budget
um,
a little bit each month for it, it it makes it so worth it and it's so
oh
much
gosh,
easier to just go to the freezer and pull out some hamburger or pull out some pork chops or whatever it may be.
exactly. I haven't bought beef in 12 months. I have a
Yeah.
freezer full of beef, and it's wonderful. And we're getting a little bit low. But then that eliminates the upcharge too. So if you go to the grocery store and you want to buy steak, what does it cost you? Like 4 times what a pound of ground beef does. So when you buy it in bulk, you're buying all the meat at a pound price. So I paid the same amount for my ground beef as I did for my New York strip steaks or my chuck roast or whatever. So that evens out that upcharge on premium products.
Right. Plus, it's supporting local, whether you got it from a locker or whether you got it from someone who does grass-fed animals. You're supporting that local farmer. You're supporting that local business too, which is absolutely fantastic. And our stores, I know, when I was in 4-H growing up in our county, when we would sell our cattle and our hogs, our local grocery stores would always purchase those and would always try to purchase those from the 4-H kids. So that's good, but that doesn't always happen and is not always available.
Right.
So knowing where your food is coming from is just an extremely good way to eat and to think about eating healthy as well.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that we do for budgeting, and I know it's seems silly to buy things in bulk, but we utilize Costco. I can buy a 3-pound bag of cut up broccoli at Costco for $5 versus going to Hy-Vee or Fairway and buying, a head of broccoli for one singular head of broccoli for $5 or $6. So again, that takes a little pre-planning, and if you're, not a member of a big store like that,
you have to be able to go into that store, stick to your budget, and get out. It is so easy to get pulled into getting other things at Costco that you don't need. That's their idea, right? That's the idea behind it. But you do such a fantastic job of being able to bring cash in, pay with it, and be done with it.
And for us, it's, kids, I know that, so we're going to go to Costco this weekend because we need toilet paper. So, I know that we need these 5 things. So here's our dollar budget. And my middle kiddo, Olivia, she loves doing this. She thinks it's so fun. She makes fun of me constantly for having my calculator out at Costco, but I go in with my calculator, my phone open, and I am not ashamed. I'm a single parent. We live on a pretty tight budget, and I know that I can, just for mock numbers here, I know I'm going to spend $100 this weekend. So I know I need toilet paper, paper towels, and some produce and a couple other odds and ends things. And so I go, it might take us zigzagging across the store, but I know that, okay, we're getting these 4 things first. They're on my list. And then maybe we'll spend, if we have extra, we might get this. Or if we have extra, we might just walk out and, I don't know, grab frozen yogurt on the way out. But making a plan, making a budget, and sticking to it is so incredibly important. And I would love to see you with your calculator out at the grocery store, because that to me means that you're being responsible and you're not just walking through and, this sounds good today. Or, you have a plan.
All right. Well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for
being
you're
here, welcome.
Jess. We will see you soon. Thanks again.
Yes, you're welcome.
Oh, goodness. I just always love talking to Jess. Probably why she's one of my best friends. And I'm sure you're going to see more episodes or hear more episodes with her involved in them, because she has lots more information that since we recorded this, we even have discussed, and just can't wait to get that information out to you. But today, at least you got to be enlightened on bringing healthier food into your kids' diet, or maybe into yours if you're a picky eater, how to meal plan and prep, and that shopping the perimeter of your grocery store is so critical and so important in keeping those healthy foods in your diet. So as I'm recording this, I'm thinking, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Because I did not follow my own advice and make a plan yet for this week. I had last night planned, but today I don't, and I don't have anything out of the freezer. So it's about 2:10 and I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking I got to get something out when I get home. Don't be like me. Make a plan for the week. I'm going to get better at making a plan, and I'm tonight sitting down to make the menu for the rest of the week so I can do that. And there's less chaos or worry around dinner time. But keep it simple. Keep it as simple as you can. It doesn't need to be elaborate meals, just healthy, just something that you can feel nourished by. All right, we've still got that healthy snack guide that is a free download if you head over to KarenYogaWellness.com, as well as a coupon for $10 off your first order of Braised Bone Broth Company's amazing bone broth. To get that one, you've got to go to KarenYogaWellness.com/podcast11. And you'll also find show notes on the website as well, so take a little time to browse those. And if you haven't, this is just a little nudge to head to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating or review so that we can grow this podcast and hopefully grow this health, harmony, and happiness movement. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, help us grow this podcast by sharing it with even just one other person. And it would mean so much to me if you would take a moment of your time to write a review. Your comments and feedback are what help me continue to bring you topics and guests that can help you and others on their journey in creating health, harmony, and happiness. Remember to head on over to KarenYogaWellness.com to get the show notes and links from today's episode. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Karen Yoga Wellness, and to continue connecting with more resources that could help you enhance health, harmony, and happiness in your own life, subscribe to this podcast. Thanks again for listening.